Hi everyone. I'm so sorry. I said I would do this yesterday and I didn't get to it. If you watched my video on the judge's order, I have a very good reason. I won't go over it again. Um, but we have Stephanie Jones's amended complaint. She has added Melissa Nathan as a defendant. So that's the big news. The other big news then is it's not named as an individual defendant, but she does also assert a narrow claim against Jamey Heath. But we'll get to that at the end of this complaint. So let's go straight into it. It's not too long of a document, actually. It's like 27 pages, but it'll be less than that because you've got these kind of pages as well. Oh, I hate it when that happens. Okay. Oh, there we go. All right. Plaintiffs Stephanie Jones and Jones Works LLC, together with Jones and Jones parties, respectfully submit this memorandum of law in support of the motion for leave to amend their complaint pursuant to Federal Rules of Civil Procedure 15 and 16. I'm just going to check the footnote. Okay. A copy of the proposed amended complaint is attached as Exhibit 1 to the accompanying declaration of Kristen Thaler, and a red line comparing the proposed amended complaint to the original complaint is attached as Exhibit 2. So I will go and have a look to see if we can look at Exhibit 1. Okay. So this is a memorandum to support their motion to leave to amend their complaint. This is not the actual amended complaint. The actual amended complaint is Exhibit 1 somewhere else. I'll go and have a look. The Jones parties respectfully move for leave to file an amended complaint to add newly identified defendants and assert narrow additional claims based on facts that have only recently been uncovered in discovery that were not available before the deadline to amend. The proposed amendments arise directly from documents and testimony obtained in the late stages of discovery, including evidence the Wayfarer parties withheld despite their discovery obligations. The Jones parties do not expect their proposed amendment or the targeted new allegations and claims contained therein to require any additional discovery or to affect the existing case schedule or orderly administration of this case. To the contrary, new allegations and claims are supported by discovery already taken on the Jones parties' existing claims that has been thoroughly examined by the parties to date. Hey guys, so I was hoping to get to this last night. I was not able to. I do actually have a really good reason, which I talked about in my video earlier on the judge's order. I won't go over it again, but it's a really good reason. So today we are going to go through this amended complaint from Stephanie Jones. Now, she's added new defendants. She's added Jamey Heath and Melissa Nathan as defendants. I don't recall seeing Justin Baldoni as a named defendant either previously. I thought it's always been Jen Abel and Wayfarer, but I may be wrong about Justin Baldoni. This case is an awful lot of information, but she's definitely added new defendants, Jamey Heath and Melissa Nathan. So, yeah. Okay. And the reason, but Jamey Heath, really? Okay. So, let's begin. Plaintiffs Stephanie Jones and Jones Works, by and through their undersigned counsel, bring this amended complaint against defendants Jennifer Abel, Melissa Nathan, Justin Baldoni, Wayfarer Studios, Jamey Heath, and John Doe's 1 through 10, and respectfully allege as following. So, nature of the case. Discovery has revealed a growing list of attack websites from the same band of conspirators. Among other revelations, Discovery has highly offensive and negative online content against individuals, often influential women, including Jones and Jones Works, with the clear intent of destroying those individual reputations. So straight off the bat, I think she would have probably included Jed Wallace if she could, but having seen that, in the lively action that New York does not have personal jurisdiction over him, she has probably decided it's not worth trying to do that. This amended complaint conforms to the recently discovered evidence and identifies the Doe defendant responsible for smear websites and social media accounts targeting Jones and Jones Works and scores more. The Jones parties now know that before Nathan and Abel engaged Wallace to run a retaliatory media campaign against Blake Lively surrounding the release of the film It Ends With Us, they had employed the same underhanded tactics against Jones, causing an astronomical and wholly unfounded spike in negative rumors, online chatter, and media articles, unlike anything Jones had experienced in her career, and resulted in severe reputational damage. I can't believe she's trying to argue that she's not had any negative content or rumors or online chatter about her. This is Stephanie Jones. This lawsuit seeks to finally put a stop to their continued misconduct and to compensate Jones and Jones Works for the damage defendants' conduct and scheme has inflicted. Stephanie Jones is a highly respected can't even get through that. Stephanie Jones is a highly respected public relations expert who focuses on corporate and personal publicity. Through her company Jones Works, she has represented many high-profile celebrities, athletes, companies, and business people. Among Jones Works' clients were Baldoni, a well-known actor, director, and producer, and Wayfarer, his movie production company. Among Jones Works' former employees was Abel, who, unbeknownst to Jones, had been groomed by Nathan to turn against Jones. Groomed. Wow, these are strong words. Together, Nathan and Abel conspired with others, including Rosa Calantari and her company, Skyline Agency, and Wallace and his company, Street Relations, to unlawfully disparage Jones and harm Jones. The attacks against Jones and Jones Works included the publication of multiple websites and social media accounts smearing Jones and placing traditional media articles amplifying these lies. Jones has consistently maintained that the smear campaign was a calculated and deliberate effort to severely damage her business and reputation. Suspicions have now been validated. Among other things, Discovery has revealed that Nathan directed a then employee, the former employee, to write, copy, and coordinated with frequent collaborator Wallace to create and publish numerous websites and social media accounts containing ugly, false statements about Jones and Jones Works. Defendants have denied their involvement in the Jones websites, but the pattern has repeated too many times to be coincidence. It is now apparent that Nathan and Wallace, and on information and belief, often in connection with litigation and sometimes with the assistance of Calantari and her agency Skyline, run a clandestine cottage industry of creating false smear websites and social media accounts targeting their adversaries and those of their clients. The Jones website is not an isolated incident. On information and belief, this pattern has repeated itself many times over, and their frequent collaborations to create and publish strikingly similar derogatory and offensive websites and social media handles about others only further corroborates their hand in the Jones website. For example, Nathan Wallace directed that the copy for the website redacted. They did the same for redacted. The list goes on. Similarities in those and other websites corroborate that the creators of the Jones website and of the websites AmandaGhostSucks.com and AlexanderBrotherSextorted.com likely also created many more derogatory websites of a similar nature, including on information and belief. There's a URL for Alexa Nicholas, who had filed a sexual assault lawsuit against Michael Milosh. Lookingbackfraud.com accusing Joe Dunn of conspiring to make accusations against Michael Milosh. A social media account attacking Christian Lang, whom Jane Doe had sued for allegedly forcing her into a slave contract. Oh, God. A website attacking Min Hee-jin, a former CEO of South Korean recording label. Attacking Paige Jimenez, an influencer and OnlyFans model. And another website attacking Tamara Rubin, also known as the Lead Safe Mama, an activist, researcher, and filmmaker who was the executive director of Lead Safe America from 2011 to 2016. Well, that was wild. At the same time, Nathan Kalantari and others, including later Abel, also coordinated closely with reporters at Business Insider to facilitate and plant a highly negative media story about Jones and Jones Works, buoyed in part by the existence of the same false and defamatory websites that Nathan and Wallace had created. So strong was their desire to generate negative media coverage against Jones that, redacted, Nathan and Kalantari conspired to, redacted. Nathan and others, redacted. They plainly intended to use the publication of this negative article to harm Jones, redacted. On the eve of the article's release, Nathan boasted about the destructive effect this story would have on Jones, mocking Jones in a text to Abel and jokingly suggesting that Abel should tell Jones. So there's a text message here. Stephanie, are you aware there is a kill story dropping this week on you? And if you hadn't have blown us up, we would not have been in such a bad place. Abel and Nathan's conspiracy to take down Jones was virulent and effective, which they themselves recognized in connection with Lively, was fueled by society's natural willingness to tear down successful women, and they capitalized on this for their own gain. And then we've got the same text messages. We've seen them. Indeed, Abel and Nathan's animosity against Jones was so great that they redacted. Nor was this the only time Abel, Nathan, and Wallace had used these tactics to tear down female adversaries. In July 2024, behind Jones's back, Abel and Nathan also secretly coordinated with Baldoni and Wayfarer to implement an equally aggressive media smear campaign on Baldoni's and Wayfarer's behalf. In connection with the release of It Ends With Us, the film, in August 2024, Baldoni began to fear that the media might report on allegations of misogynistic and toxic on-set behavior and that the fallout would be harmful to his reputation and career. Determined to protect his reputation, Baldoni and Wayfarer's CEO Jamey Heath turned to Abel, who had become the point person at Jones Works on the Baldoni and Wayfarer account. Over Jones's express objections, Abel brought on crisis fixer Melissa Nathan to help her manage the situation. Together, Abel and Nathan, with Heath's active encouragement, conspired to shut Jones out of the process and keep their strategy hidden from her. Abel and Nathan sprang into action, scheming to bury and destroy co-star Blake Lively to protect Baldoni. Their plan was covert, deliberately concealed from Jones, and went far beyond the legitimate scope of Abel's employment. Indeed, discovery has revealed that Nathan and Abel offered to Baldoni and Wayfarer, without Jones's knowledge, a website and full social takedown of Lively, exactly what Nathan, Wallace, and others had done to attack and disparage Jones and others, including Redacted. At the same time, Abel and Nathan were pursuing a far more selfish purpose, tearing down Jones's reputation to take her clients and enrich themselves upon Abel's planned departure from Jones Works. So I'm not going to read these texts because they are actually still the same. Yeah, they are the same ones that were in all the other original complaints. Avarice, not any sincere appreciation for Baldoni, was Nathan and Abel's motivation. Abel's candid communications revealed that she, in fact, held Baldoni personally in extremely low regard. Abel had voiced the same opinion in connection with a filmed kissing scene between Baldoni and Lively, which was described to Abel as so gross that Abel was well aware of Lively's described to Abel as so gross and revealed that Abel was well aware of Lively's onset complaints about Baldoni's behaviour. Hold on. So you can see here, right? There's the names here of who these messages are going between, right, and not redacted. It's obviously coming from Melissa Nathan to Jen Abel, and I think, there are ones where, coming from Jen Abel to Melissa Nathan, all right? And here we've got messages from Jen Abel going to someone whose name is redacted and coming from someone who's redacted. And we have already figured out much early on in this case that that person who's redacted is Stephanie Jones. Stephanie Jones was also saying, Blake was probably grossed out too, right? So when she's saying, well, Abel was talking shit about her own client, so was Stephanie Jones. But if you don't look, you just assume that these are still the messages between Melissa Nathan and Jen Abel. They're not. And because I'm assuming that these dates have the British format as well on them. Okay. Now you put Nathan and Abel then used the crisis as an opportunity to drive a wedge between Jones and Baldoni, and to publicly pin blame for this smear campaign on Jones, when Jones had no knowledge or involvement in it, in conspiring to ensure that Wayfarer and Baldoni would leave Jones Works and come with Abel to her planned new firm. Okay. By the time Jones became aware of the plot in August 2024 and terminated Abel, it was too late and damage was done. Abel had already stolen more than 70 proprietary and sensitive business documents and additional client leads from Jones. Beyond those documents, Abel left Jones Works with Baldoni and Wayfarer in tow and immediately opened shop at her own competing firm, which she had set up while still working at Jones Works. She further sought to poach employees in violation of the non-compete and non-solicitation provisions in her contract, and for their part, encouraging Abel and leaving with her, Wayfarer and Baldoni breached their own contract with Jonesworks and then poured salt in the wound by baselessly refusing to pay the remaining amount owed. Abel and Nathan's covert takedown and smear campaigns were revealed in black and white on Abel's company-issued phone following her termination, which Jonesworks forensically preserved and examined in detail after receiving a subpoena. Are we really going there? After receiving a subpoena, it's not a lawful subpoena anymore, by the way. They've dropped the word lawful for the phone's contents. Jones discovered the breadth and intensity of Abel and Nathan's duplicity from these records, including that Abel was actively encouraging other Jonesworks clients and employees to leave Jonesworks while Abel was still employed there. Right. I've got an issue with this. She is saying, right, she is saying that Jonesworks forensically preserved and examined in detail after receiving the subpoena. Yet that does not make sense because the guy who forensically examined her phone was there the day that Jen Abel was terminated. The intimate details of what was on the phone was shared with Leslie Sloan that same day, and there is evidence on a call log of Leslie Sloan calling Melissa Nathan. There is also like another colleague from Jonesworks when Jen sent a nice message saying, you know, she really cared about them. That colleague clapped back and said, "Well, we've seen what's on your phone." This was all before that subpoena. That because don't forget, she was terminated on the 3rd of she was terminated on the 21st of August, 2024. The subpoena was issued on the 1st of October. Sometime later, quite later actually, almost 6 weeks. So how on earth did Jonesworks only forensically preserve and examine in detail after receiving this subpoena? It doesn't make sense. Okay. To this day, Abel and Nathan blame, attack, and disparage Jones in an effort to detract from their own misconduct as it continues to come to light. So too do Baldoni and Wayfarer, who have since parted ways with Jonesworks, have repudiated their contractual obligations with Jonesworks and have enabled and encouraged Abel and Nathan's rampant misconduct against Jones. Jones has tried in good faith to resolve this dispute out of court, but those efforts were met with a complete lack of accountability and stonewalling. I think Stephanie Jones, I have read somewhere that they did attempt arbitration before she filed her lawsuit in December. And defendants' finger-pointing and smear campaign against Jones still continues. Jones has been subject to even more retaliation and negative attacks from defendants for filing this lawsuit and revealing the truth, but she has been left with no choice but to seek to vindicate her rights through this litigation and put a stop to defendants' continued harassing and damaging behaviour against her. So we know who the parties are. We know who Jonesworks is, Stephanie Jones. We know who Jen Abel is and Melissa Nathan. We obviously know who Justin Baldoni is and Wayfarer Studio. So I won't go through that. We know who Jamey Heath is. And then we still got, because she's always had John Doe's 1 through 10, either 1 through 10 or 1 through 100 it was originally. It's now 1 through 10. And they are just unknown additional individuals that she can name later on. Because that's how a Doe lawsuit works. who created and published defamatory websites www.stephaniejonesleaks.com and www.stephaniejoneslies.com, as well as more than a dozen fake social media accounts and dark web accounts that defamed Jones and Jones Works. I'm not going to go through where the arguments are the same. I'm not going to go through them. So jurisdiction and venue. So she is saying New York. I'm not going to go through that because we've seen that in her other complaints. I probably should have just gone through the red line version of this, because there is a red line version where you can see the difference in the original complaint and this new amended complaint. Background on the parties and their contracts. So Jones and Jones Works. Jones is a highly regarded leader. Jones is a highly regarded leader in the field of public relations and the founder, president, and owner of Jones Works, an Emmy Award-winning marketing and communications agency. So Jen Abel, we know about that. She worked for Jones Works until August last year. There's an NDA, which is basically a non-disclosure, non-solicitation agreement in place, which is quite standard. Most companies, big companies like tech firms and PR and so on and so forth, have you're not allowed to compete with me. You're not allowed to, approach my clients, etc. It's usually for a period of time. It might be a year or two sometimes. Okay. I'm not going to go through all this because we have been through this. Wayfair and Baldoni, we've been through all that too. Let's just try and get to see what she says about Melissa Nathan. Melissa Nathan is a long-time crisis manager who has previously worked at several public relations firms. Jones and Nathan had worked alongside each other in the publicity industry for many years. At times, they have shared mutual clients, and for many years, Jones would seek to work collaboratively with Nathan and refer her business. What? Jones's goodwill towards Nathan went so far that in 2022, Nathan and Jones Works engaged in negotiations regarding Nathan potentially joining Jones Works. The negotiations progressed significantly, including Jones Works agreeing to hire and actually hiring two of Nathan's colleagues upon Nathan's insistence. Ultimately, however, negotiations with Nathan failed and she was not retained by Jones Works because Melissa Nathan said, nope. In 2023, Jones witnessed Nathan's approach to handling clients' crisis when they worked for a mutual client. Nathan's tactics went far over the line. Jones recommended that the client terminate its relationship with Nathan, which was separate and independent from Jones and Jones Works. Jones herself resolved that she would not collaborate with Nathan for clients in the future. Nathan has seemed to harbour significant animus towards Jones and Jones Works ever since. I don't believe that's the case, and there's a reason I don't believe that's the case. Is firstly, Melissa Nathan was the one who declined to join Jones Works. Also, I have read the text message thread between, I think it's Case and Coslow. I know it certainly is Katie Case. And they were sitting there going, what is she doing working with Jones Works? Why are we working with Jones Works? We don't trust anyone from Jones Works. So actually, to me, the evidence suggests that it was Melissa Nathan and Tag, certainly the employees at Tag, who did not want to work with Jones Works. Now, it sounds like Melissa Nathan made an exception for Jen Abel on this case with Wayfarer. But certainly the girls at Tags, the employee the tag employees were really pissed off that they were having to do work with anyone from Jones Works. I got the impression that they would have been okay working with Jen Abel, if she had left Jones Works, but because she hadn't left at that point, they were like, well, why are we working with her? Why are we working with her? Jones Works are awful. We don't work with people from Jones Works. So I actually see it as the complete opposite to what Stephanie Jones is saying here. Okay, this actually, I remember now, because I read it myself. The Melissa Nathan section was actually in Jones Works' original complaints, because it was in her very first file complaint, and that's when I went back and read it. That's how I learned. Oh, right, okay, they were gonna hire Melissa Nathan, and then that fell through. And what Stephanie Jones caused Melissa Nathan to lose a client. So that's how we kind of learned about that. Okay, Nathan conspires with others to disparage Jones and Jones Works. Jones and Nathan's once collegial relationship soured after the 2023 incident in which Jones experienced Nathan's unethical tactics. After that incident, Jones stopped referring clients to Nathan, and Nathan began expressing extreme animosity toward Jones, especially regarding the clients the two shared. I'm just going to say, right, and I'm not saying there's anything in it, but when I went through the Glassdoor, the employee reviews, so people who have worked at Jones Works, past and present, leaving reviews, right? I mean, there wasn't a single one that was nice and complimentary about Stephanie Jones as a CEO or leader. There wasn't. But the reviews were kind of not too bad in 2022. And I made a point of saying, actually, some of the reviews here, like 4-star, they're not that bad. They all dipped to like 2-star, 1-star. It's like I said, something bad must have happened in 2023. Because after that, no one had a nice thing to say at all. It was a toxic environment, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just kind of like, again, I'm keeping a very open mind. I don't believe Stephanie Jones. She's been underhand. There's plenty about her and what she's like. She's nuts. However, I do like this paragraph here. Jones and Nathan's once collegial relationship soured after the 2023 incident. And Nathan began expressing extreme animosity toward Jones. And I do like I'm not going to pretend that it's not sitting here crossing my mind going, is that something to do? Is this because it was a sudden shift in sentiment? Although, like I say, no one had anything nice to say about Stephanie Jones, even when there was a good, decent review. It was about the clients, or it was about co-workers. It was every single review that mentioned CEO Stephanie Jones or leadership, they were all like, even the most positive reviews were still like, no, but she's a piece of shit. However, the reviews for Jones Works, working at Jones Works at all, really suddenly fell off a cliff after 2023. And in my mind, little cogs are turning like, was it something to do with a smear? Or were people just kind of speaking out more? Because there was also that there just seems to be this natural willingness to speak out against Stephanie Jones, whereas people may have been fearful of her before. I don't know. I keep a very open mind about these things. There is a bit of a correlation between the dates, and it could be completely unrelated, or it might be something, it might be connected. I don't know. By late 2023, shortly before the formal launch of Nathan's new agency, Nathan and Jones were working for a mutual client. During the course of that business, Nathan had become increasingly frustrated regarding what she perceived as that mutual client's deference to Jones and refusal to permit Nathan to unilaterally determine strategy for that client. Nathan regularly expressed her frustration regarding having to work with Jones for a mutual client and disparaged Jones and Jones' works to others. Redacted. I mean, we've seen some of that. We have seen Melissa Nathan and Sarah Nathan in particular kind of referring to Stephanie Jones as a cunt. So, we have seen some of that. Again, does not translate to a smear campaign, just expressing an opinion. Nathan and Abel conspire with others to place and facilitate Business Insider kill story against Jones and Jones Works. Nathan and Kalantari then conceived a plan to publicly attack Jones's and Jones Works' reputations for the purpose of redacted, and also causing other existing and potential clients to refuse to do business with Jones and Jones Works. Then something's redacted, more is redacted, there's a lot of redactions, a whole page of redactions. Redacted. Later in or around July 2024, Abel, while still employed at Jones Works, joined Nathan and her co-conspirators' support and facilitation of the Business Insider article to attack Jones. Indeed, as early as July 29th, 2024, redacted. In the subsequent 2 weeks, Abel and Nathan fed information to Warren to ensure that she moved forward with the article that it was sufficiently critical of Jones. The contact between Abel and Warren included at minimum a 27-minute phone call on July 30th and several phone calls on August 1st and August 12th. Abel also facilitated Warren's outreach to former clients of Jones to further disrupt Jones Works' business. Okay. This client, with whom Jones had worked closely for years, bringing her from obscurity to prominence, terminated her contract with Jones as a direct result of Abel's encouragement and deliberate interference. For her part, redacted. Okay. In addition, on August 9th, 2024, Abel suggested and asked for Heath's approval to try to get Business Insider to remove reference to a letter of support for Jones that Baldoni had previously written, and to falsely tell Warren that Baldoni and Wayfarer had terminated their relationship with Jones Works when they had not. And here are those messages, actually. Jen Abel to Jamey Heath. Just thought about something. Should I try to get Justin's letter removed from Business Insider? I would need to tell her on background that both Justin and Wayfarer have severed ties. And this is dated the 9th of August. We don't see any responses, by the way, from Jamey Heath or any context about what they're talking about. Jen Abel to Jamey Heath. So not sure if your lawyers would recommend that, as she would need to print that, and not sure if that would cause any issues. On August 12th, 2024, just 3 days before the article was published, Business Insider's Warren asked Abel to call her back. Abel called Warren 11 minutes later. The day before the article was published, Nathan texted Abel about boasting about the destructive effect it would have on Jones and mockingly suggested that Abel should tell Jones. So there's that same message. Immediately before the article was published, Nathan texted Abel that she just got a text from my source to say that the article is going live imminently. When Abel asked which article Nathan was referencing, Nathan responded, I just shook my head at your response. The only article. Abel responded, oh shit, that article. Warren then texted Abel the minute the article was published to alert her that it had gone live. And you can see Katie Warren texting Jen able to say, "Story is up. Thanks again for your help," and then texting a link to the Business Insider article. I will say one thing I'll say about this article is it is not actionable if like that, it's basically an article about employees' experiences of Stephanie Jones. What it's like to work with her, what a nightmare she is. If they're conveying that and it in their minds that's true, it's not defamatory, then the fact that they participated in that article is not proof of anything that would be actionable. It's not proof of a coordinated smear campaign on its own. It's not proof of a coordinated smear campaign, and it's definitely not proof that anyone did anything to Blake Lively. Immediately after the article was published, Abel texted Nathan a link to it. Abel also sent the article directly to numerous industry contacts, including many of Jones's clients and employees, and several of Abel's industry friends and other industry publicists. The article, published by Business Insider on August 15th, 2024, was highly critical of Jones. Again, being critical of someone is not, it's not actionable. Including by referencing and amplifying the anonymous disparaging website StephanieJonesLeaks.com, which had been recently posted online by Nathan and Wallace, and accusing Jones of having a reputation for aggression and having recently been dropped by high-profile clients. Let's look at the footnote. Okay, it just tells you to look at the Business Insider. Given that Wayfair and Baldoni were long-time clients of Jones' works, the clear and false implication of the article was that Jones was responsible for the aggressive media tactics that were being employed by Baldoni against Lively. Unsurprisingly, the negative article about Jones shared a strikingly similar tone with the negative coverage against Lively appearing in the press at the same time. In the same vein as the gendered mean girl coverage about Lively that followed the weaponizing feminism script set out in the strategy memo, the Jones article was premised on the same principles, manifesting an equally sexist critique of Jones, who is cast as a tyrannical boss who could quickly turn combative rather than a successful executive in a high-profile and high-pressure role. Okay. Nathan, desperate for the article to have maximum negative impact, redacted. This article has serious negative repercussions on Jones's business and negatively impacted Jones's standing and connection with Jones Works clients, making them more vulnerable to poaching by competitors like Nathan and Abel. To this day, despite notice of falsities contained in the article and despite the growing proof that the article was planted and deliberately slanted to harm Jones, the Business Insider article remains publicly available and has not been retracted or corrected. Nathan and her co-conspirators fabricate defamatory websites to attack Jones and Jones Works. Nathan's tactics for attacking Jones and Jones Works ran deeper and were more insidious than just the Business Insider kill story. In or around early May of 2024, Nathan, acting in concert with Wallace and upon information and belief Kalantari and Skyline, published two false and defamatory websites about Jones and Jones Works. In May of 2024, Nathan instructed the former employee, who was by then working for Nathan, to draft the copy of the contemplated website attacking Jones. I believe that might have been Katie Case, who they're referring to as the former employee. I'm not sure, but I know Katie Case has worked for both Jones Works and Tag. Nathan directed the former employee specifically as to what the website was to say, redacted. The former employee did as instructed and sent the requested draft content back to Nathan and Wallace. On May 6, 2024, Wallace and Nathan published a false and defamatory website about Jones and Jones Works at the webpage www.stephaniejonesleaks.com. After Jones objected to the website domain hosting service about the defamatory and abusive nature of the website, the service took the website down. Then, just days later, Wallace and Nathan created and posted identical content at the website www.stephaniejoneslies.com, which was hosted by a different company. This website remained online and accessible until summer of 2025. I remember that site as well. It was brutal. It was really brutal. These individuals published the websites under the name of an innocent, uninvolved former JonesWorks employee in order to hide their tracks and to perpetuate a false narrative regarding the genesis of the websites. Knowing that the websites needed to generate the desired traffic, Nathan and Wallace also instructed the former employee to write content for several disparaging social media posts about Jones and JonesWorks that would promote the websites and further disparage and defame Jones. The former employee complied and provided draft language for those posts to Wallace via the disappearing messaging app Signal. This content was subsequently published on X, formerly known as Twitter, via the handle at LeakyStephJones. Additional derogatory X accounts were also created, as well as Pinterest, Reddit, Gab, AnyFlip, and Facebook accounts that all sought to boost traffic to the websites. The websites contained substantially identical, false, harassing, and defamatory statements about Jones and JonesWorks, including but not limited to statements that Jones bullied JonesWorks employees. Well, that has been corroborated by Glassdoor reviews. Jones and JonesWorks interfered with the employment prospects of former JonesWorks employees. Again, there's evidence of that too. Jones and JonesWorks leaked confidential client information. Yes, she did. She leaked some stuff about the. I mean, I know she is saying that Dwayne Johnson smeared her, which is wild. But she leaked confidential stuff about Dwayne Johnson. She leaked all of the confidential stuff of Wayfarer and Baldoni to Lively on a sham subpoena. I mean, really, this woman is just deluded. Jones and JonesWorks coerce clients into taking actions that are not in those clients' best interests. Yes. Again, there's evidence. Jones and JonesWorks interfere with their clients' ability to do business. Right, okay, well, I mean, I'm not sure about that. Each of these statements is false. On information and belief, Nathan Wallace, Kalantari, Skyline, and the Doe defendants published the defamatory statements on the websites with knowledge of their falsity, or at minimum with reckless disregard for the truth, with the specific intent to harm Jones and JonesWorks in their business by causing them to incur reputational harm and lose clients. On information and belief, Nathan Wallace, Kalantari, Skyline, and the Doe defendants then engaged in search engine optimization efforts to promote the websites and drive web traffic to them, including through the use of backlinks. That is, links to the Jones defamatory websites were planted throughout the internet on seemingly unrelated websites, such as I'm not going to read them, to influence search engine rankings and elevate the Jones defamatory websites in online search results for Stephanie Jones or JonesWorks. Nathan specifically intended the websites to be severely damaging to Jones and JonesWorks' reputation. She succeeded. Indeed, Nathan boasted in her filings before this court that the website severely damaged Jones's reputation following a surge of negative publicity and left Jones Works in utter turmoil that caused it to bleed clients and personnel. In fact, Nathan used the websites to drum up interest among reporters in Redacted. Nathan and Wallace have denied involvement in the websites, however, the pattern has repeated too many times to be a coincidence. Indeed, Nathan and Wallace, working at times with others, appear to have developed a cottage industry of creating and publishing smear websites against adversaries or adversaries of their clients, often attendant to actual or prospective litigation. For example, Nathan and Wallace also directed copy to be drafted, created, and caused to be published on a website on behalf of Redacted. Redacted, following their Jones playbook. Oh, it's a Jones playbook. Nathan instructed the former employee to draft content for a website requested Redacted. Nathan also redacted. AmandaGhostSucks.com launched Redacted. That ghost is the Indian Ghislaine Maxwell, procuring young women for the pleasure of the extremely wealthy and highlighting her lethalness. Like with Jones, multiple parallel social media profiles appeared online at the same time to promote web traffic to the website. And multiple backlinks also appeared, including from the very same accounts responsible for the Jones backlinks. Ghost has since sued Nathan for her role in creating and publishing this derogatory, defamatory site. So what Stephanie Jones, the sum total of what she's saying is Jed Wallace and Melissa Nathan seem to work together a lot. They work for Hollywood stars, so Justin Baldoni, Dwayne Johnson, Rebel Wilson. And for each of those stars that they work with, those stars have requested that they set up sites to smear other people. So not only is she accusing Jed Wallace and Melissa Nathan and Jen Abel of, this cottage, well, not so much Jen Abel for the cottage industry side of things, but she's saying that Melissa Nathan, Jed Wallace have a cottage industry, that Jen Abel also partaked in that, amongst others. And they did it at the behest of people like Justin Baldoni, Rebel Wilson, and Dwayne Johnson. And that Justin Baldoni and Dwayne Johnson, at least, were also smearing Stephanie Jones. That Justin Baldoni was smearing Blake Lively. That Rebel Wilson was smearing Amanda Ghost. I find these claims wild. Very, very wild and almost psychotic. These are big claims to be making about people, especially big names, Okay. So, Redacted. And once again, backlinks appeared in online content, including ones authored by the same accounts that authored content highlighting the Jones and Amanda Ghost websites. I will just say, though, right, when she's making these allegations against Justin Baldoni and Dwayne Johnson, they're both clients who left her, and now they're both being accused by Stephanie Jones of smearing her. In Stephanie Jones's own words, well, is it really a coincidence, or is it a pattern? The connection between these websites is not speculative. And by the way, that also goes for Jen Abel, former employee Jen Abel, former employee Katie Case, and former almost employee Melissa Nathan. They're all smearing her too. Okay. Off my soapbox now. The connection between these websites is not speculative. To the contrary, recent forensic analysis of the Jones, Amanda Ghost, and Alexander Brothers websites has determined that those websites and the promotion of them share certain digital fingerprints, including boosting their placement in search engine results by using backlinks, that is, links to the websites from third-party websites, social media accounts, and blogs created by similar authors. Are they similar or the same? This forensic evidence supports only one conclusion. Those websites were created by the same individual or coordinated set of individuals, i.e., Nathan and Wallace. It doesn't end there. Further investigation reveals that a lengthy trail of other similar attack websites and social media pages, including on information and belief, at least the following. So we got these links again that were up further up, so I won't read them again. Upon information and belief, Nathan and Wallace and others acted in concert to create and publish numerous derogatory attack websites and social media sites and accounts that share identical features, playbook, and digital fingerprints with the derogatory websites and social media accounts they created and published to attack Jones. And one thing I'll say is, even if there is a common link between Melissa Nathan and or Jed Wallace, that does not mean that it was done at the request of Wayfarer or Dwayne Johnson or even Rebel Wilson. So, yeah. Right. Abel and Nathan's scheme to use Baldoni's crisis to attack Jones's reputation and steal Jonesworks' business. I don't love those lines they're putting under the headings. Okay. Nathan's attacks against Jones, often in coordination with Abel, did not stop there. Instead, around the same time as Nathan was sorry, my throat. Around the same time that Nathan was conspiring with Wallace and others to create defamatory websites and social media accounts against Jones, and was conspiring with Abel and others to ensure publication of the negative Business Insider article against Jones, Nathan and Abel, began conspiring to undermine Jones from within and to steal Jonesworks' clients and confidential information upon Abel's planned departure from Jonesworks. Among the clients that Abel and Nathan conspired to steal from Jonesworks were Baldoni and Wayfarer. In 2019, I have a feeling this is going to be repetitive. We'll see where we go with it. In 2019, Baldoni and Wayfarer acquired the film rights to the best-selling novel It Ends With Us, written by Colleen Hoover, an author whose books enjoy a vast and devoted following, especially among young women. In 2023, Baldoni began production on the film adaptation of It Ends With Us. Wayfarer was a co-producer of the film, and Baldoni owned the rights to its source material. Baldoni named himself as the director and male lead of the film, an abusive partner to the female main character played by Lively. Later reports emerged that during production, women on set... multiple now. I can't think where she would have got inspiration for that from. Later reports emerged that during production, women on set, including Lively, made complaints about Baldoni's behaviour towards them, including comments of a sexual nature and inappropriate touching. Right, let's be clear here, right? Apart from Jenny Slate taking offence to Baldoni calling her leather trousers, pants, whatever the Americans call it, sexy, right? Which was her character's costume, and Lively also, like, there was a thing about her character's wardrobe looking sexy, which is what Lively herself was going for anyway, although she said she wasn't going for it. There was nothing else. There was no other female cast making complaints about Baldoni's behaviour, anything to do with a sexual nature, and there was certainly no inappropriate touching. These allegations just keep getting exaggerated with every filing. It's disgusting. getting really annoyed with this now. Right, okay. Jones later learned that the tensions on set had reached such a point that the Screen Actors Guild halted production. What? Oh, okay. Sorry, that's my bad. Jones, I thought she was about to say that SAG had actually shut down production because of the tensions on set. Jones later learned that the tensions on set had reached such a point that after the Screen Actors Guild strike halted production from July to early November 2023, Lively had only agreed to return to production if Wayfarer implemented additional measures to prevent further improper behaviour on set by Baldoni. The film was released in August 2024. In connection with the release, the press began reporting on tensions between Baldoni and the female cast and crew on set. The spin on this is just something else. According to reports, Baldoni had acted in a controlling, demeaning, and borderline abusive manner towards the cast and crew, especially towards women. I thought they had problems with him hugging them. How is that borderline abusive? Like, what shit is she spewing here? The press specifically identified Lively and Hoover as having clashed with Baldoni during filming and speculated on the unusual circumstance that neither Lively nor Hoover was photographed promoting the film together with Baldoni as evidence of tension. Right. There's an interview after the completion of the film. There is an interview outside like the set with Baldoni and Colleen Hoover, right? So this has to be quite late on. This has to be around June time, possibly July. Colleen Hoover had her arm linked with Justin Baldoni's. Like they were standing close, and Colleen Hoover had put her arm through Baldoni's arm. Does that sound like they clashed? It sounds like Blake Lively had a little quiet word in Colleen Hoover's ear. Said, "Hey, if you turn against this guy, maybe I can help fix you up with a production company." I think, in all seriousness, right, I think this lawsuit is really starting to get to me, to my emotional kind of place. I just feel like, there is the allegations are just they're getting worse and worse. Like Jones advocates for Lively sexual harassment more than Lively ever did. And the stuff is getting stretched beyond recognition, and there's still no fucking evidence for any of it, by the way, which greatly pisses me off. And I wouldn't have a problem, by the way, if with her not having evidence, because it's actually quite a normal thing. Women get mistreated or abused or whatever, and rarely do they actually have any evidence. If there's no black eyes or anything involved, it is really hard to prove that your husband screamed at you, because they do it behind closed doors. Obviously, that's a different type of relationship, but you know what I mean. However, Lively herself has been wandering around telling everyone, telling the world, telling the New York Times to blast it out that she's got overwhelming evidence, and yet we've seen none of it. We are nearly a year on, and we have still seen none of it. So, in fact, I've seen evidence that counters it, her allegations. So I'm at a loss at this point. I'm very deeply annoyed with all of this. As someone who's actually been through, an actual abusive relationship with a man, and has been through all the processes, including police, including the various systems, been to seek professional help, then I find this absolutely disgraceful that a woman is saying all this shit and dragging it this far, because I just can't, like, I mean, how the hell did we get to borderline abusive when their main gripe with him was that he hugged them, and not in a a gross cringy hug. We've seen the behind the scenes footage. It's just like kind of a friendly, hey, I'm warm and I'm welcoming, and you're safe with me, kind of thing. Something that was once considered quite normal. It's now no longer considered normal to do stuff like that anymore because of women twisting it like this. And that it just pisses me off, because people are creating drama where drama does not need to be created. Like, the world has enough problems. As the August 2024 release neared, sorry guys, like, I just had to get some of that off my chest. I think, I've been covering this for the whole time, and you get to points where sometimes you can laugh it off, other times, like, you just, oh my God, seriously? Seriously. And it touches nerves. So, but I'm annoyed with the way that the allegations are being distorted beyond even what Lively has alleged. It's absolutely disgraceful. Right, okay, now I've said it, so we continue. As the August 2024 release neared, Baldoni began to fear that the increased attention being paid to him and the film would cause reports of allegations about his on-set misbehavior to come out. Abel and Nathan, with encouragement from Heath and without Jones's knowledge or approval, began to formulate a no-holds-barred strategy to discredit and suppress any potential revelations about Baldoni's on-set behavior. Jones, having entrusted the management of the Baldoni-Wayfarer relationship to Abel, trusted that any plan Abel formulated on behalf of Jones Works would appropriately reflect the company's integrity and ethos. Hold on, then that kind of what? So she's saying that as she was aware then that there was of the tensions. She said earlier she wasn't aware of the tensions. She clearly was aware of the tensions. And then she says in this paragraph, after saying, "Oh no, I was cut out of the loop. I had nothing to do with it. It was all done behind my back." She's sitting here going, "Well, I put Abel in charge of the account, so I trusted that any plan she formulated on behalf of Jones Works." What? Well, did you know about that what they were doing or not? Unfortunately, the opposite turned out to be true. Behind Jones's back, so now we're back to behind the back, Abel went around Jones to arrange for Baldoni and Wayfarer to retain Nathan and launch a smear campaign. It was not behind her back. She advised against it, but it is not her decision to make. So she knew that they were considering Nathan. It was not done behind her back, because she weighed in and said that she didn't recommend Melissa Nathan. Okay. Baldoni and Wayfarer admittedly hired Nathan at Abel's recommendation and over Jones's objections, and despite her warnings about Nathan. See, she says there. She admits that she was aware that they were considering Melissa Nathan. That's not behind your back, sweetheart. On information and belief, Nathan took advantage of this opportunity to encourage Abel to leave Jones Works, to conspire with Abel to steal Baldoni and Wayfarer as clients from Jones Works, and to smear Jones and Jones Works in the press. On information and belief, Nathan did so because she believed, among other things, that Abel would encourage Nathan's own burgeoning relationship with these and other Jones Works clients, while Jones would not. This scheme ultimately inflicted serious damage on Jones and Jones Works. Okay. this is probably, we're only halfway through, and I appreciate we've been going for a while. I mean, it's a nearly 70-page document, so I am sorry about that. I hope you can bear with. Abel and Nathan devise a smear campaign against Lively to benefit Baldoni and Wayfarer. Nathan and Abel's strategy for Baldoni was set forth, in part, in a 4-page memorandum sent to Baldoni, but kept secret from Jones, that outlined several potential scenarios at play here, which we should be prepared for should Blake Lively and her team make her grievances public. I mean, that looks cut off. Where's the rest? Also, there is another document from TAG as well, like a scope of work document, where all they do is talk about working and aligning and, representing kind of Jones Works. We're going to align with Jones Works. We'll work closely with Jones Works. So the fact that that doesn't mention Jones Works, to me, is nothing. It also doesn't mention Jen Abel. It also doesn't mention Tag or Melissa Nathan. So it just talks about, protecting the reputation of Justin Baldoni, Jamey Heath, and Wayfarer Studios from Blake Lively. That's it. The memo, which along with the overall strategy was kept secret from Jones, explicitly recommended weaponizing Baldoni's perceived history as a long-time activist and advocate of and for women in Hollywood to be used against Lively, and at the same time sought to discredit Lively's negative on-set experiences with Baldoni by painting her in the press as the one who had weaponized feminism for her own benefit. I mean, she did. Amicus reports. Again, there's nothing in here that's not true, though. She's talking about, well, there are other people that she's had problems with, such as Leighton Meester, Anna Kendrick, Ben Affleck. That's not untrue. That's not untrue. And they're talking about, people in Blake's circle, like Taylor Swift, who have been accused of utilizing these tactics to bully into getting what they want. Again, that is true. They have at least been accused. There's some evidence that it's true as well. So they're not saying things that are not actually true and already public knowledge. This aggressive strategy was apparently still not tough enough for Baldoni, who texted Abel and Heath and that he was not in love with the document, Nathan said. So this is now the same as before. I'm gonna skip over this because it is a long document. Okay, now we're talking about negative articles, etc. in the Daily Mail, New York, page 6. We've read all that. That's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. Okay, there's a text message here. I'm not sure if I've ever seen this before. So, it's from Tara Hanks, who's the president of Wayfarer, to Jen Abel. And it's basically a text. She's saying, well, we've had a text from Stephanie about the HR article and us hiring Melissa for the crisis. And then she quotes Stephanie as saying, "This wasn't planted by Leslie. This is playbook by Melissa." There was no New York Post story she kept at bay. Melissa's sister works at page 6. We need to flood zones with positive press and push back on claims. There's no counter to claims in story. His complimentary soundbites of Blake need to be covered on high SEO sites. I saw the text messages between Sarah and Melissa Nathan when Melissa Nathan was asking Sarah Nathan to delay a story from the New York Post. Okay. Okay. There's a text message from Jamey Heath. Sorry, okay, so excluding Jones from the conversation, Heath flatly rejected any pivot to a positive strategy in a text to Abel. Now, we don't know this is a follow-up from the same message or a response to that text message. That's how it's been portrayed, but there is nothing to actually say, yeah, this is Jamey Heath responding to that message from Tara Hanks. So, Jamey Heath says to Jen Abel, I don't like the idea that there is continued cannibalization from within the same side, meaning Jones works, i.e., Stephanie and the crisis team. Right, so he's saying, I don't like the fact that Stephanie is, having issues with the crisis team, Melissa Nathan. I only want us to be communicating with people who are working together and not with ones who are undermining others within our team. Stephanie is casting doubt, and that can have an effect like poison. I'm going to bed. First for me and forever. Let's chat more tomorrow about this. Okay. Abel and Nathan drive a wedge between Jones and Baldoni and attack Jones's reputation in the press. At the same time as pandering to Baldoni and Heath's desire to discredit Lively, Abel and Nathan were also furthering their own profit-driven agenda to attack and disparage Jones, using many of the same tactics they were using against Lively in order to eliminate Jones as a competitor and siphon away her clients for themselves. Ironically, Abel and Nathan recognized that their success on both fronts reflected a societal desire to tear down successful women like Lively and Jones, but they remained undeterred in their agenda. This text message here, it's from Melissa Nathan. It's actually sad because it just shows you how people really want to hate on women. They were actually talking about Stephanie Jones. Excuse me, sorry, my throat is playing up. They were actually talking about Stephanie Jones in that text message, but Blake Lively has added it in her complaint and claimed that they're talking about her. It's them talking about how Wayfarer are treating her. And then she talks about Abel trashing Nathan. Okay. So this is all the same stuff. I'm trying to get to the new stuff. Like, okay, so these are text messages we've seen. Okay. To further their plan, Abel and Nathan contrived to plant stories in media outlets, including the Daily Mail and Business Insider, to trash Jones's and Jonesworks' reputations publicly and to their clients. They also back-channeled with Wayfarer and Baldoni to paint Jones in a negative light. For example, following the premiere of the film, the Daily Mail published an article reporting on tensions between Baldoni and Lively. That article relied exclusively on social media posts that had been identified for Abel earlier that same day, either a shocking coincidence or confirmation that Abel had planted the story. On information and belief, Abel and Nathan conspired to plant this story in the Daily Mail in pursuit of dual objectives. First, the negative story cemented Baldoni's need for Nathan's crisis management services, ensuring herself an ongoing paycheck. Second, they arranged for Baldoni and Wayfarer to believe that Jones was the cited insider and also created a false story that Jones had publicly blamed Lively for the article, thus sowing discord between Baldoni and Wayfarer on the one hand and Jones on the other. Okay. The scheme worked. When the article first published, at first, key players in the film's release, including Josh Greenstein, the president of Sony Pictures Motion Picture Group, believed that Abel was the person responsible for the story. Okay, so here's a text message from Josh Greenstein to Jen Abel. Hi Jen, been informed you have been speaking to sites about bad blood between Blake and Justin. He was good on today's show. If a negative story breaks, it would hurt the movie. Right. But Abel denied being the source and instead falsely insinuated to Sony's communications team that Jones was the leak. This false allegation stuck. Rumours that Jones was behind the article began to make their way back to Wayfarer, causing Heath to respond with hostility. So his message from Jamey, Heath, Steph Jones, Tara Hanks, Jen Abel. I'm hearing from Sony that quote, someone named Stephanie Jones has responded out to Daily Mail saying that Blake is to blame and now this has escalated it all. We were purposely not responding to anything as to not fuel. This has fueled it. Everyone stand down unless I'm aware of any moves. I don't care who's supposed to do what. I'm most interested in that. I'm interested only in any strategy being run by me. I need to understand that. Okay. When Jones stated her intent to contact Sony to correct this misimpression, Heath instructed her to stand down. Okay. Okay. So Steph Jones then responds back to clarify, I've not spoken to anyone at the Daily Mail. This is not true. Steph then also says, again, I'm not contacting press, but is concerning if Danny or Kim are saying I've escalated this as I haven't even touched this. I'm going to contact them. Jamey then responds, Stephanie, as your client and the one who pays for your services, I am stating to not contact anyone regarding Wayfarer or Sony at this time. If you do after this text, it will be a major problem. This needs to be respected now. Heath went a step further and threatened Jones directly that he would issue a public press release stating that Baldoni and Wayfarer had terminated Jones' works if she took any steps to contact Sony or others to clear her name, menacingly reminding her that she didn't need that kind of negative publicity for herself or her business. Well, I hope that there's a message there with all of that. Because, it's not in there. It's not added to this complaint. Abel facilitated and encouraged Heath's attacks and threats against Jones Works, her then current employer. On or about August 8th, Abel surreptitiously participated in a phone call between Heath and Jones. Hiding her presence, Abel fed statements to Heath that he then repeated to Jones. Well, this is new. Heath, who was in Illinois at the time of this call, secretly recorded the call, simultaneously violating Illinois criminal law and memorializing his abusive threats and Abel's treachery. Right, okay. On August 9th, the Daily Mail published another article, this time reporting on Baldoni's abusive on-set behavior, citing insiders as the source for the article. On information and belief, Abel and Nathan conspired to plant the story or at minimum, knew it was forthcoming and allowed it to be published, in further pursuit of their goal to cement Baldoni's and Wayfarer's needs for Nathan's services and turn them against Jones. Heath and Abel bragged about the success of the strategy, jokingly referring to Abel, who was sitting 20 rows away from Heath on the aeroplane on a press junket trip, that they and Nathan attended without Jones as the leak, that it was the best decision of the whole trip. What? Okay. There's a text message from Jamey Heath to Jen Abel. Best decision of this whole trip, 20 rows separated from the leak. I mean, that doesn't look good. I'll be honest, that does not look good. In parallel with their efforts in the Daily Mail, Abel joined in Nathan's long-standing effort to plant negative stories about Jones, including in Business Insider, as detailed above at paragraphs 59 through 78. Just days after the kill story against Jones that Nathan and Abel had facilitated on August 25th, Business Insider turned the media storm surrounding Baldoni and Jones more pointedly to Nathan's advantage, publishing a second article that favourably touted Baldoni's hiring of Nathan to shepherd him through this crisis. The article, which on Information and Belief was again orchestrated by Nathan, noted that the negative attention on Lively was a gift to Baldoni. All the while, Abel had been making arrangements to leave Jones Works with confidential information and clients in tow. On July 19th, while still employed by Jones Works, Abel filed paperwork to create RWA Communications, the competing public relations agency she intended to start upon her departure from Jones Works. Abel had also created a website and social media accounts for her new competing firm, all while still employed by and under contract with Jones Works. At least as early as July 22nd, 2024, Abel had created a new email account, jennifer@rwacommunications.com, to which she forwarded dozens of proprietary messages from Jones Works, including client information, Jones Works work product, and information specifically regarding Jones Works work for Wayfarer and Baldoni. Abel successfully hid her theft of confidential documents and information. Abel surreptitiously continued stealing documents and client information while also secretly contacting Jones Works clients to pave the way for her departure. Indeed, when Jones Works information technology personnel disabled Abel's access to Jones Works servers after discovering her unauthorized downloading activity, Abel boasted that she was still able to steal all of the documents and information she needed to form her own competing firm. I mean, that would have given, being disconnected from the servers, surely would have given Jennifer Abel a heads up that Stephanie Jones knew what was going on. Okay. Abel further coordinated with Nathan and Baldoni to ensure that Wayfarer and Baldoni would leave Jones Works and come with her as clients for her newly created RWA Communications. So we've read them. I think those text messages in particular are in this document 3 times so far. On or about August 21st, Jones learned about Abel's ongoing efforts to steal dozens and dozens of Jones Works proprietary documents, including sensitive client and business information that Abel had no legitimate reason to access, including for major brand and clients that Abel had never worked on. Abel went so far as to download and copy the Jones Works client contract form, except that she replaced the Jones Works logo with the logo for her own newly formed business. Jones Works immediately terminated Abel. As part of her termination paperwork, Abel falsely signed a statement purporting to confirm that she had not removed any electronic confidential information from Jones Works, But of course, she had, and signed this signed statement was untrue. The damage was done. With the encouragement and assistance of Nathan, Baldoni, and Heath, Abel stole Wayfarer and Baldoni as clients, targeted other JonesWorks clients to leave, and launched the long-planned and competing RWA Communications. As a result, Wayfarer and Baldoni ceased working with JonesWorks, and despite being under contract with JonesWorks, refused to pay JonesWorks what they contractually owed for its services. Even on the day she departed JonesWorks, Abel proudly admitted to Nathan that she was shaking Jones down to extract as much as she could from the company before her departure. There's a message here. I haven't seen this one. Message from Jen Abel to Melissa Nathan. By the way, I'm having my off-boarding this morning with our chief of staff because Steph won't face me, and you should see the list I made of things to bring up. The list of things I made to bring up. Melissa Nathan to Jen Abel. I need to see the list. Jen Abel says, holding them hostage. It's wild. I mean, she did also then go on to accuse JonesWorks of literally holding her hostage on the day she was fired. So Melissa Nathan says exactly how business should be done. Nor was Abel content to only steal documents, clients, and confidential information from JonesWorks. On August 14th, Abel also attempted to encourage Nathan to poach a valuable JonesWorks employee. Text message there, redacted, wants 2,000K. He will come work with you. Told you he's pricey. Melissa says, do you think you're serious? And he would do it. Okay. Abel also encouraged at least 6 other JonesWorks employees working for her in the Los Angeles office, almost half of JonesWorks employees at that office, to leave the company. So, as I said, if the environment's not a good environment, people won't stay if they get a better offer. Including by bad-mouthing Jones to those employees and sending the employees' resumes to competing public relations firms. I mean, if they wanted to leave, they just wanted to leave. What did she do? How did she get their resumes? You know? They had to have been given to her. She's setting up a competing firm and they're not happy at JonesWorks. It makes complete sense that they are leaving her. So, for me, that bit, the fact that 6 employees left doesn't mean that Abel stole them. They just left because they weren't happy at JonesWorks, and there was a new company, probably with someone they quite liked and respected, and they'd worked with, had a good relationship with. The documents texts and the holding hostage text thing is these are not threads of text. These are just single messages, which we've already seen them being used out of context, diced and spliced. So whilst I say, oh, it doesn't look good, I also say I want more context. What was the context? So, yeah, there's that. Okay. Since being terminated at from JonesWorks, Abel has continued attacking Jones within the industry, using her tried and true playbook to preemptively discredit any sources that might shed light on her own misdeeds. Abel has falsely stated to other participants in the public relations industry that Jones was attempting to distribute doctored text messages purporting to be from Abel as retaliation for Abel's departure. She has also tried again to point the finger at Jones as cover for her own role in the campaign against Lively becoming public. But Jones has never doctored any text messages and has no reason to do so. Well, I dispute that. And I also think the fact that she redacted her own name on her messages, that she's put in here to make it look like she's not the one that's talking shit about Justin Baldoni, her own client, while sitting there accusing Abel of talking shit about Justin Baldoni, her client. I find that disingenuous. Abel's text messages were forensically extracted directly from that company phone that Abel used during her employment at Jonesworks and voluntarily returned to Jonesworks upon her termination in the presence of an employment lawyer and have been preserved in their original state. And as has become glaringly apparent, the text messages are themselves enough to condemn Abel and Nathan without any need for doctrine. So she's not going to mention. I was hoping there'd be something about Van Zandt. There's nothing. So desperate were Nathan, Abel, and the Wayfarer parties to discredit the text messages that they cannot deny they wrote, that immediately after the filing of a legal complaint against them by Lively, they reactivated their publicity smear machine, to discredit Jones and turn focus away from the damning content of the text messages by fabricating a wholly concocted story that they were obtained illicitly. On information and belief, they sent these false statements to reporters, some of whom published them in substance or idea, furthering their long-standing defamation against Jones. As intended, the misconduct by defendants has had a significant negative effect on Jones and Jonesworks' business and reputation, and the campaign of misinformation against her has not stopped. As a result, Jones and Jonesworks have been left with no choice but to bring this lawsuit to seek redress for this misconduct and to remedy the damage done. So before I start the causes of actions, that itself as a filing is quite well argued and written. Whether the evidence is going to be there, I'm not sure, because we haven't seen all the discovery that they've got. I have problems still. I mean, it doesn't cure some of my problems. For instance, I understand Stephanie Jones is claiming that she did not contact anyone at the Daily Mail. And I understand there was just a single text message where, Jamey Heath is suggesting that Stephanie Jones, Jen Abel was the leak because she was sitting 20 rows away, and she says, "Oh, Jen Abel was sitting 20 rows away." Right? I would like to see evidence of that, but also what context is he talking about the leak? It could be something completely different. Also, Stephanie Jones herself has admitted to leaving, trying to call the Daily Mail back because she knew someone there. She left a voicemail. So when she says, "Oh, I did not make contact with anyone, I did not do anything," that's not true. By her own admission, that is not true. Okay. First cause of action: breach of contract, Abel employment agreement against Jen Abel. All right, so I'm not going to go through all this, so just go through what the causes are. So there's breach of contract for the employment agreement. That's against Jennifer Abel. The second cause of action: tortious interference with contract. And that's Abel's employment agreement again. That's against Melissa Nathan, Wayfarer, and Baldoni. And then, thirdly, breach of contract, the Wayfarer agreement. That's against Wayfarer and Justin Baldoni. Fourth cause of action: tortious interference with contract. That's the Wayfarer agreement, and that's against Jen Abel and Melissa Nathan. Fifth cause of action: tortious interference with prospective business relations. This seems to be a fairly new cause of action. It's against Melissa Nathan. Jones and Jonesworks incorporate each and every allegation set forth as if they were fully set forth herein, beginning in at least December 2023, redacted. Next paragraph is redacted. Nathan and her co-conspirators, and acting in concert with Wallace, but even though Wallace is not being sued, further created and disseminated derogatory attack websites and social media pages about Jones and JonesWorks, and then engaged in search engine optimization efforts to drive maximum traffic to the websites. The next paragraph is redacted. Nathan and her co-conspirators engaged in the aforementioned conduct with the sole purpose to harm Jones and JonesWorks, redacted. Jones and JonesWorks were severely damaged as a result of Nathan's and her co-conspirators' conduct. Among other harm, the Business Insider article and derogatory attack websites negatively impacted Jones's stand-in and connection with JonesWorks clients, making them more vulnerable to poaching by competitors like Nathan and Abel. Right. Jones, again, does not have a good reputation. I don't know why she's writing this as if, well, before all this, I had this glowing reputation. I was trusted and adored. No, you were not. You were not. She had a dire reputation, both as, someone who represented clients. The clients did not like her particularly, but also as an employer. She was just not liked at all. As a result, JonesWorks lost client relationships, redacted, that would have renewed or entered into agreements with JonesWorks if not for defendants' wrongful action. Well, I hope she's got, some evidence that they would have renewed, but for, the actions of Jen Abel and Melissa Nathan. Because if not, then that is just speculation. Okay. Sixth cause of action is the faithless servant one. So that's against Jen Abel. We have seen that. Seventh cause of action, breach of fiduciary duty against Jen Abel. We have seen that. Eighth cause of action is defamation from Jen Abel. I can't remember if we've seen that. The ninth cause of action is against Melissa Nathan and John Doe 1 through 10. So that's defamation too. Now this is a new one. This is the one and only cause of action against Jamey Heath. Violation of Illinois Consolidated Statutes, Chapter 720. This is against Heath. Jones and JonesWorks incorporate each and every allegation set forth as if they were fully set forth herein. On or about August 8th, 2024, Heath was a party to a telephone conversation with Stephanie Jones. During the phone call, Heath was located in Chicago, Illinois, which is where he probably was Sarah's. The phone call was a private conversation between Heath and Jones. Heath recorded his phone call with Jones. Heath did not inform Jones that he was recording the conversation and did not request or receive her consent to record the conversation. So Illinois is a two-party consent state, which is where Heath was. Stephanie Jones was in New York. That is a one-party consent state. However, in the situation where one party is in a two-party consent state and another party is in a one-party consent state, the priority law, the overriding law, would be the two-party consent state. So, technically, Heath recording it was illegal, and that is what she is claiming here. So, yeah. Prayer for relief. Wherefore, plaintiffs pray for relief as follows. Entry of judgment in her favor. Awarding damages in an amount to be proven at trial, reasonable attorney's fees and costs for this action, punitive damages including but not limited to pursuant to Illinois Consolidated Statutes, pre-judgment and post-judgment interest, and such other and further relief that the court deems just and proper. And they request a jury trial on all issues so triable. Okay. So that is the Jones Works amended complaint. I'm not going to say much more actually on it. I think it's been well kind of drafted. Whether the arguments in it are good or not, I'm on the fence. I want to see how Wayfarer, Abel, and Heath, and Baldoni, and Nathan all respond to this. Some of the information, some of the text messages on the surface look awful. However, I stand by the ones. I stand by the fact that she is kind of changing some story where she has pleaded differently in the past. And to also say that, no, where was it? I'm going to. Yeah, this one. To say that she only forensically preserved and examined Abel's phone after receiving a subpoena for the phone's contents. I have a problem with that because clearly she did that immediately and there's evidence of that. All right, guys. I will leave it there for now. I'll see what else we get on the docket.